Here's your wrestling news for May 28th, 2023. Yesterday, WWE hosted their Night of Champions event, and the promotion's 9th show as part of their lengthy deal with Saudi Arabia proved to be a show to remember. WWE kicked off with the World Heavyweight Championship match as two of WWE's most talented individuals, Seth Rollins and AJ Styles, faced off for the new gold. The WWE Universe was on the edge of their seats for the match, and in the end, it was Rollins who came out on top, winning the title that was presented to him by Triple H. When the 12-man tournament was first announced, many called Rollins the favorite, but this is a rare instance of WWE going with the obvious choice, which was also the right choice. The WWE Universe had been rallying behind Rollins for months, who has proven himself time and time again as a top star, especially in the absence of Roman Reigns. It had been reported that WWE were hesitant to make Rollins champion with his Marvel movie project, but that's evidently not the case, and we'll have to see where the new champ goes from here. Up next was our first of 3 women's matches on the card as Becky Lynch faced Trish Stratus in a generational match that has been building for weeks. We're not the biggest fans of Stratus' story, being that she hasn't been properly credited for her work, given that WWE has praised her as arguably the greatest women's wrestler ever for years. Nevertheless, Trish and Lynch had a standout match in Jeddah, and for the Canadian, the near 17 years since her first retirement has done little to rust her skills in the squared circle. Lynch, as you'd expect, gave an incredible performance, but it was the interference of Zoe Stark that made the difference. Stark came out from under the ring to attack Lynch when the referee was down, allowing Trish to deliver some stratisfaction and get the win. This is certainly a huge moment for the recently called up Stark, and should be taken as a sign that Triple H has faith in her right from the start of her Raw tenure. As for Stratus' win, it was the right call for her to go over if a rematch is the plan, as it gives Lynch a reason to want to step in the ring again with the 7-time women's champion. With reports of a showdown at SummerSlam and this dirty finish, all signs are pointing to a rematch where Lynch will likely get her win back and finish off the Canadian Hall of Famer. Up next was the Intercontinental Championship match between Gunther and Mustafa Ali, as the positive superstar hoped to be the one to dethrone the Austrian. Even with expectations being high, the champion and his challenger not only matched what fans wanted to see, but exceeded those expectations in a match that would have been worthy of the main event tag. In the end, it was Gunther who walked away with another win under his belt, continuing his run as the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of the 21st century, but this win was far from easy. It had been reported by some that the initial plan was for Ali to win, and even in defeat, Mustafa was kept looking strong, the right decision by WWE, and a surprising feat when you consider how little the promotion has given him for years. If we had to compare this match to another, we'd say it has similarities with Gunther vs. Sheamus in Cardiff, in that even in defeat, Ali showed that he had nothing to be ashamed of with his performance. This could be the beginning of a long-awaited push Mustafa Ali needed, and while he didn't leave Jeddah as Intercontinental Champion, it may be a matter of time before he finally holds some gold. In our second women's match of the night, Bianca Belair put the Raw Women's Championship on the line against Asuka in a rematch of their collision at WrestleMania 39 last month. The fact that WWE was having a rematch after Belair won clean in LA was taken as a sign by some fans, who proved to be right in their assumptions. Given what we saw at WrestleMania, expectations were high for this rematch, and despite the talent of both women, the match simply didn't live up to those expectations. Belair and Asuka are arguably the two most technically gifted women in WWE today, which is why it is so strange that the match featured botches and some missed opportunities. Perhaps the placement of the match was also a factor, as at the halfway point of the show, the crowd seemed to be noticeably quieter in this match than what had come prior. We do give points for the creative finish, which saw Asuka use the mist, but rub it in the face of Belair to get the win, and end the EST's record-long reign as Raw Women's Champion. With this being a rematch to a match that saw a clean finish, some had predicted that a title change was coming, and now the question is, what's next? Well, with this dirty finish, fans can expect another rematch between the two, but it remains to be seen whether WWE will put the title back on Belair so soon after her reign came to an end. If WWE does decide to put the title back on Belair in the rematch, then this title change will certainly feel like the wrong call, and a sign that WWE is struggling to come up with engaging story ideas. There is still the question as to why the Raw and SmackDown women's titles are not being defended on the proper shows, and perhaps WWE will come up with a solution for that soon enough. In our third women's match of the night, SmackDown Women's Champion Rhea Ripley retained against Natalya in what was little more than a squash match. Lasting just 70 seconds, things started poorly for Natalya from the start, with Dominik Mysterio providing the distraction. Ripley quickly pounced with an attack on the outside and a riptide in the middle of the ring to get the win, and a longer match would have been a better decision for both women. The fact that Natalya, WWE's longest tenured female superstar and a graduate of the Hart Dungeon, fell for a distraction spot hardly speaks well for how WWE perceives the former Divas champion. Arguably, the biggest takeaway from this match is that WWE simply sees Natalya as an enhancement talent able to put over younger stars, though an enhancement talent with some credibility to her. WWE's intention with Ripley's dominant win was for her to come across as a powerful champion, but it has instead come across that Natalya is easily beatable, and questions have been raised over her legacy. It was the wrong call for Natalya to lose with such ease at Night of Champions, and somebody who has remained so loyal to the company should be given at least more offense in the ring. In our second main event of the night, Brock Lesnar took on Cody Rhodes, and WWE really wanted to hammer home that Cody was wrestling with a supposed broken arm. Given that Cody wrestled with a very real torn pec, the fact that he was now competing with a kayfabe injury has seemed awkward, and it proved to be the focus of the match. Rhodes fought through the pain of the supposed broken arm to push himself to the limit, and was able to deliver the crossroads to Lesnar, shaking the beast incarnate. When Lesnar locked in the Kimura lock, though, it was all over, as the referee called for the bell and ended the match for Cody Rhodes' well-being, as he had seemingly passed out. The decision to end a match early can often split the mood of fans, and this call in Jeddah proved to be no different. Looking back, fans should have expected this kind of finish, and we imagine that WWE will be working on a rematch at a future Premium Live event. With Rhodes expected to be competing in the Money in the Bank ladder match, expect a rematch to come at SummerSlam, perhaps with Lesnar costing Rhodes during the ladder match in London. As for this week's match, though, it was the wrong decision for the match to end as quickly as it did, clocking in at 9 minutes and 40 seconds. Surprisingly, this is the exact same amount of time the pair had for their match at Backlash, and while that match saw criticism for being too short, it appears WWE didn't learn their lesson. If a match at SummerSlam is the plan, hopefully the pair will be able to have a longer match than what we've seen, one we predict will see Cody Rhodes finally slay the beast. And in the final main event, but let's face it, this was the true main event, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens put their undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships on the line against Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. In unquestionably the match of the night, Reigns and Sikoa were incredibly confident about winning the titles, and with the show marking day 1000 of Reigns' Universal title run, it wasn't hard to see why. Despite this, the champions pushed the Bloodline to the limit, and the biggest story from the match was the dissolution of Roman Reigns' faction. When the Usos appeared and accidentally attacked Sikoa, Reigns berated the pair, leading to Jimmy Uso snapping and delivering a couple of super kicks to his cousin. After the Usos went back, the champions delivered a stunner and the haluva kick to Solo Sikoa and retained their undisputed tag team championships. The attack from the Usos not only led to Reigns and Sikoa losing, but also confirms a babyface turn for Jimmy and Jay, and sets up the rumored match between the Usos and Sikoa and Reigns for Money in the Bank. The implosion of the Bloodline was by far one of the best decisions made by the company, and expect an all-out war between the two sides, one that has been months in the making. WWE's Night of Champions was certainly a historic event, but it proved to be incredibly hard-hitting for some on WWE's roster. For much of the World Heavyweight Championship match, Seth Rollins was dealing with some kind of leg injury after a dive to the outside went awry. Despite this, Rollins finished the match and was able to celebrate in the ring, and we can't count out the notion that this injury was just for the storyline. During the match between Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus, the man was busted open in scenes that seemed reminiscent to what happened between Lynch and Nia Jax in 2018. Night of Champions was a night neither Rollins nor Lynch will forget, though not for the same reasons, and we can only imagine what the couple discussed after the show. And we're ending with Night of Champions, as there was some extra fun for the crowd in Jeddah once the show went off the air. After the show went off the air, Sami Zayn remained in the ring and received a thunderous ovation from the live audience. For Zayn, Night of Champions was an especially emotional experience, being the first time that he has been allowed to compete in Saudi Arabia. Zayn had previously been withheld from the shows due to his Syrian heritage, but with tensions between Saudi Arabia and Syria having eased recently, Zayn was allowed to be part of the show. Zayn's match at Night of Champions capped off an incredible week for him, which also saw the Muslim superstar take a pilgrimage to the holy city of Mecca, and the crowd made their love for Zayn known both during and after Night of Champions.